Was the Night of the Auk by Arch Oboler.
That's right. Now, has there been one person,
It
one voice
lasted
that
5 days and it was blasted right off the stage by the very people who say, when is the theater going
I
to
think
say
that's the
anything?
only voice. That's the only voice that has cried out and said,
Yeah,
"What are we doing?" I would rather have a guy shout out, "Let's drop the atomic bomb and the hydrogen bomb on somebody," because it would be a voice that is a dissenter's voice. I would rather, no one has said, "Let's make a sincere effort to have a peace," because I don't even, I'm not even telling you what I believe, but I haven't heard one idea other than let's keep preparing for war and we'll have peace.
that's true.
Gee, I was
You
on the
can't help
coast,
it. It's
I
true.
was in Europe, I was in the Virgin Islands even, and everybody says the same thing. There is no, I'm not interested in politics. All I care about is that people are, are, are made aware that they must think for themselves. And today everybody is too afraid to think for themselves for fear that they may be out of the general mode of public opinion, out of touch with the common man. And the common man has become everybody. It's
That's
as if
true. Well, John, I have a feeling this is based somewhat on well, I've done a great deal of thinking about this, and I feel that there is really only one place where the artist today can really and truly say what he really wants to say.
and that's with Eugene.
No, it is not with me. After all, I would love to think so. I do every Sunday. But again, as I say, this is just let's be again frank about it. This is, what is it, 4 hours a week I'm on the air. And very lucky to be on the air at this, let's face that. But I'm not trying to be an egotist. I say what I have to say in my own way, in a very small way. I am a small man. I am not Bertrand Russell. I am not Alfred North Whitehead. I'm only me. Maybe that's why I'm sitting here trying to sell fig Newtons or whatever it is that we sell here every Sunday night. But the thing, John, that I have often thought that the only place where the artist today has true freedom of expression, in the sense that he can deal with any theme he wants to deal with, is in the field of the novel primarily. For example, Neville Shute wrote a book called On the Beach, a magnificent.
Yes.
Now, here's a book that dealt realistically with the situation that we're living in today. And I got a note from a guy who listens to the show. I was talking about it a couple of weeks ago, and he really made a point that I think is an very interesting point. He was a high school student, and he says, I heard you talk about this thing, so I picked up the book. And he says, you know the book I'm talking about,
Yes,
John? And he
yes, I
says, I
do.
started to read the book, and he says, all of a sudden I found myself looking for a way out. I was waiting to see how the guy was going to solve the problem. And he kept reading and reading, and finally he gets to the end, and the problem not only wasn't solved, that was the end of
Yeah.
it. He says, I suddenly realized that everything I'd been reading had been pap, because there is always a pat solution at the end. And you know, John, that this is required in the theater. You know, I'm working on a play now. I don't know whether you know this or not.
Mhm.
I'm working on a play. I've been involved with many people about it. It has to do with an adaptation of a novel that I've been working on. And they keep saying, "Well, now you've got to have this ending, and it's got to have a storyline." And I says, "Well, life doesn't have a
Why do
storyline."
they say that, Gene? Let's examine that. Why do
Again,
they
there's
say
a
that?
reason for it, because people are going to go out of the theater saying, "What happened?" There's the feeling of,
They feel that the people are
yes,
going to
of
go out.
course,
And if this happens, it's the worst thing in
the,
the world to them
I know that.
because it's against the norm. It's against the usual thing. There's
But
a
isn't
set
this
construction.
life though? That we're always talking about, let's get true to life. Let's be realistic. And when you are
You know
realistic,
something? The
the
people
very
will
people
hate
who say,
that.
of course they'll
You know
hate it.
why they'll hate that? Because in their experience, it's never happened before. And people are so terribly afraid of a new thought or a new idea, a new construction, or something, because it jeopardizes their beliefs. And people want to stick with their beliefs. They're not flexible. They're solidified. They're
Yeah,
concrete.
but John, listen, I have a feeling that so many of the things that we stick to, beliefs, are the things which have led us into this terrible mess we're in today. And that's what the whole play is about.
Well, I don't have a new idea, Gene. I want to tell you, I think the guy that comes up with a new idea will revolutionize the world.
Well, that's been again, it's a very intriguing thing. This picture of yours, which one of my real regrets is that I haven't been involved enough in it. I haven't had enough of an involvement myself in it that I really feel a genuine regret for that, John. And yet, on the other hand, watching you work and watching the boys who worked around you create this picture, it has been to me a real inspiration in the sense that it is such a rare thing in our world today when you see people who could be, let's say, doing what is generally considered in our world, making money, making a lot of money if they wanted to, taking a lot of time and plenty of it. After all, I know how many hours you worked on this picture during the past 2 years to make something that is a pure creation by itself. This is what I'm making. I'm making this for its own value. This is, how unusual. No wonder Reginald Rose thought you were an idiot. This
Well,
is out of his norm.
well, look, here's the thing. You see a scene in a bar, and the people made the story up as they went along. There was no script. And these three guys walk into a bar, and
This is in the
they're
picture.
trying to pick up girls. They're not trying to pick the girls up for any particular reason. They want companionship, like most every guy that goes around trying to pick up a girl.
Yeah.
So they go into the bar and they clown around. They're not serious. They clown around with the girls, and they fall all over the tables. And they spot these two girls, and they go over to them. Now the girls have three guys, and the three guys come out of the men's room, and they see these other three guys fooling around with the girls. And it gave me a great deal of pleasure working with a yeah fight. Not a real fight, but a thing saying, where the guys come out and they say, well, hey, what are you guys fooling around for? And nobody's about to fight. So the other guys say, listen, we didn't know that you guys were with these girls. And the other guys say, yeah, look, we don't like you guys fooling around with these girls, because would you like us to come around when you guys are with girls and fool around? And it becomes a yeah fight. And it's the idea of the fight is so senseless to even the guys. And eventually their pride forces them into a fight. And our heroes get the stuffings knocked out of them.
And it's a purely idiotic fight,
And the
as
thing,
all fights are.
yeah, and the thing is that when they get the stuffings kicked out of them, they know that that's the game that they were playing, and that's the way that life is, and that there's nothing they can do, and they accept it.
Yeah.
They accept it, and they don't like it. They don't want life to be that way, but they accept it to be that way. And the very next moment, they're off again
Yeah.
on their jaunt looking for something.
Exactly like mankind always does. We just had a big war.
That's one of the scenes from my latest picture.